So I wanted to introduce Louis. So he's been a trainer for Kinder Institute for 15 plus years. George really handed over the torch of leadership of Kinder Institute's training programs to Louis a number of years ago. And so he is our lead international trainer, and he's just done an amazing job of adding a lot of structure and consistency to our training programs, and he's mentoring our other trainers globally. And so I'm very excited for him to kind of just kick this off with an overview of what the 7 stages is. And then we can go into an Ask Me Anything around the 7 stages. And if it ends up being just both of you, then it can turn into anything you want, Louis, to answer questions around. We don't have to just stick with the 7 stages. So Louis, go ahead and take it away.
Yes, welcome. Good to see you again, Michael, and welcome, Finlay.
Thank you.
I hope that this recording will reach a number of the other participants as well, because it's a bit of a shame that we are not exactly on the numbers that we had expected. But anyway, let's look at the 7 stages. And in order to understand 7 stages, or the use of 7 stages a bit better, we probably need to need to get back to the first book that George wrote, because that was the 7 stages of money maturity. And if you hear like the 7 stages of money maturity, you kind of think like, okay, yeah, what is that exactly about? It's not always completely clear by the title. So when you try to explain that, I usually refer to the fact that actually George started to write this book because he was practicing, and he noticed that his meetings were quite different from the meetings that his colleagues had, and especially when it was about conversion rates, he felt that his conversion rates were really high up there, where others would be maybe content with 50-60% or something. And as he started to realize that he was apparently doing something special, he started to look at what is it that I do differently. And the 7 Stages book is really about the journey that he made, and all the information and all the knowledge and wisdom that he gathered throughout, well, actually the whole world, and history as well. So, and in that he found that apparently we have many occasions where we can know what the right thing to do would be, but actually when we look at our behavior, we're not doing it. And this is something that we as financial planners will often run into as well, that we really put in effort to explain to our clients what would be a wise course of action. And then we at first may notice that, well, clients have some trouble understanding that, which often is the case. But let's assume for a moment that we are able to reach them, and they really get it. So you've done a terrific job, and they really get it. And then they come back in 3 months later, and you ask about it, and they haven't done it. They haven't followed up. And you think like, oh man, am I the only one getting this, or is this our clients just stupid, or what is it? And of course, the answer is not that clients are stupid. The answer is that we are eager to assume that when someone understands it up here, that that understanding in itself would be enough for people to do the right thing. But just understanding it isn't enough. You have to be able to feel something with it as well, because the feeling, in essence, is always the driving force behind any action that we take. And that's something that George found out pretty early on, But then if you say like, okay, so you have to look in that feeling world in order to find drivers, you run into other stuff, because then all of a sudden you run into how people are sometimes stuck in their convictions, how it's often really, really difficult for them to start to do something else because habits kick in, um, and a lot of difficult feelings actually that we have around money. To begin with, the difficult feelings that people come in with when they enter your meeting room for the first time, even because, well, where we are pretty confident and we feel like, okay, so we can do a good job and we are prepared and we have all the necessary knowledge that it takes. Clients will often come in confused and maybe even anxious or even fearful. So difficult feelings are also running through our meeting, and well, where did we prepare ourselves? How did we prepare ourselves? When did we prepare ourselves to deal with that? I mean, that's difficult. Another issue that's completely interlinked with this is the fact that when we do have a conversation on something that needs to happen in people's finance, well, might well be that it's incredibly useful to have a really clear picture of where it is that this financial plan should lead to. I mean, what is the ultimate thing in the client's life that they want to achieve in order to feel like, okay, this makes it all worthwhile. This is meaningful to me. This feels like purpose to me. So if you are having a conversation on that, and let's assume for a moment that we are capable of having that conversation, which we'll find is not as easy as it looks like. But anyway, let's assume that we're capable of having that conversation. What happens as a consequence is that when you think about the things in life, the elements in life that give you great fulfillment, that are so essential to you. And at the same time, you have to realize when talking about it that it's not there. It's not there yet. And actually you feel obstacles in order to get there. So it's hard. So you've been pushing it aside for quite some time already because, yeah, well, you don't want to be confronted with the pain of not having it all the time. When it's being touched in a conversation like this, it's very likely that clients are going to show some emotion. And that may be from just having that simple lump in the throat to really being in tears. And again, the question is, where and when did we ever prepare ourselves for having a conversation where emotion actually plays an important role? So now, if you think about all of that, then it almost sounds like we as financial planners need to be psychiatrists or something like that, you know, where we are, or therapists, where we are completely dealing with that end of the spectrum. We were never trained in that, and nor do a lot of financial planners even like to to be in that realm. So what are we looking at here? Well, actually, if you are advising a client, whether you like it or not, whether you want it or not, you will always, to some extent, have to do with things psychological. I mean, we are one human being, so we have both this clever mind and our emotional responses. It's always both there. So you can't deal with a person saying like, no, I just deal with the clever stuff and the emotional stuff. Now that's no issue. Let's not do that. So you have to find a way to work with the integral client, with all of what your client offers. And that requires preparation. So in the 7 stages of money maturity, George takes us through how this emotional realm interacts with what we would need to do in the financial realm. How do we work with that? And what is the distinction between being a therapist and being a financial life planner? Where are these boundaries? What is it that we need to do, and what is it that we definitely not need to do? Because clearly we are no therapist, and we don't want to trot in that area, being unskilled and try to do something there. So financial life planning is clearly, as George always says, it's financial life planning is financial planning done well. It's finding a way to look at the whole client, the whole human being, rather than just at their finance. And the 7 stages are there to show us that there's a lot of convictions in play, a lot of difficult feelings in play, a lot of working through all those in order to be able to step beyond our behavior or our habits that we have that normally rule the show. And then from that, we will notice that vigor arises, and we learn how vigor and what we learn in the evoke method actually links in with the whole 7 stages material. As a kind of a bonus, there's even 2 steps more that are being addressed, and that is how some people get to really have eye for whatever it is that happens around them, and are able to work in their community in a way that is really beneficial to people around them. And last but not least, the area where people in the way they behave actually more or less transcend their ego and are capable of giving something without it being about them. And that's kind of a progression we'll see. So that progression takes place once we, as financial planners, do excellent work. We are able to facilitate this journey to some extent. Of course, in the end, it's always the journey of the client, but we will facilitate. And that's only possible if we have enough knowledge and skills around these topics. So some of the people considering doing this training may have already done the evoke training and think, okay, you know, I already learned the skill sets of being able to work with that energy with the client. But then actually the 7 stages will give you so much more confidence in really understanding what this is all about. I often give the example that, you know, if and I knock on wood as I'm saying it, if you would be in the circumstances that you have a heart problem and you would need open heart surgery. Okay, well that's quite daunting, isn't it? But anyway, you're there with the surgeons, and would you like the surgeons to explain to you in detail how they are going to open you up and how they are going to use a device to keep your chest open as they have sawed through all the ribs, and then how they would sew the vessels together after they have cut everything? And, you know, would you really want to know all those details? Or does that just feed your anxiety? Would it be much more beneficial maybe to be able to hear that, or to get the confidence that this person in front of you is ultimately skillful and will do an excellent job on this difficult operation on you. And my guess would be that reassurance that you're in the right place with the right person who has all this background information that is essential for doing a good job is really important, of course. But we probably don't need to know all the details. So do the 7 stages. Is the material in the 7 stages the stuff that we talk about with our clients? Well, to a minor extent. For a very important part, the stuff we talk about with our clients is dealt with in Evoke. In 7 stages, it's much more the stuff that we know as the surgeons, within brackets, because we have this expertise. We understand how it works. We understand the struggle that people go through when they have to create some change in their lives. And that's because of understanding those 7 stages. So that's in a bird's eye view, the logic of wanting to do this as a financial planner. As a financial planner, it helps us to be more complete in the way we are able to have a conversation with our clients and to understand what drives clients. I've been talking about clients all the time, but the beauty of it is that apart from it being very beneficial for our clients, it's also necessary for us to understand so much better that we ourselves are also driven by emotion, and we also have a lot of convictions that make us do things in a certain way. Where in this market that we had last week, some advisors will advise clients to sell, others will advise clients to stay put. I mean, this is based on the biases that clients or that advisors have. And as clients are not knowledgeable in this area, they tend, in their insecurity, they tend to follow the advice that they're getting. So what is my money bias? Did I ever consider that I have one? And how does it come into play when I work with my clients? It's all 7-stage material. It's all in there. At least it offers you great opportunity and insight in checking with yourself, like, okay, so where am I with all of this? So that's like I said, in a bird's eye view, what it looks like, and I certainly would love to hear from you what kind of questions that raises, and maybe also from Laura if there's anything to add.
Yeah, thanks, Louis, and welcome, Susanna. We're glad to have you here as well. So yeah, let's open it up to any questions that you might have about the 7 stages course or of Louis.
Hi, yes, just wanted to thank you for hosting this and Louis for your time as well. And I'm sorry for being late. And I'm in Southern California, so my day's just begun and I was trying to answer a few work items. But I'm interested in finding out if you would have any advice or insights for me as a career transitioner. Like, I first got into or was interested in financial planning maybe about 3 years ago. I was living abroad and I was trying to figure out what job or career would be I could bring with me wherever I went. And I heard about financial planning and George Kinder and really loved his philosophy on life planning and financial planning done well. So I've started working at an RIA about 3 years ago, got my CFP. But I feel like, and I've been given feedback that, I need to get my basics down first, which makes sense, learn how to really do financial planning first. But at what point is it beneficial to start implementing or using these conversations at the client. Like, I feel like it's useful from the very beginning, but I'm not at the stage where I'm comfortable leading a client meeting yet. Like, I've only just started sitting in on meetings. So is there a recommended time for taking the Evoke course or the 7 stages course?
Yes and no. Yes. No, let's start with no. I mean, no, because in a way these skills are pretty universal, useful. Even without any financial background, even without any financial profession, we are, because of the way we are raised, because of the way in this kind of society that we live in, we are bound to believe that it's more about our clever thoughts than it would be about what we feel. But then again, it's always the feeling that gets us into action to do something. So the feeling provides the driver for doing stuff. So if we are not knowledgeable about that feeling world and we have no clue how to deal with that, then it's always kind of a, yeah, well, just hope for the best. and that's also true when, even when you're looking at your relationship with your partner or your kids or your family or friends or whoever, because yeah, they have their concerns as well, and they are going through life being insecure about the stuff that they want to do that doesn't really work currently for them and that they feel obstacles to. So if you're able to provide them a better kind of listening, then that will be very, very beneficial. So there is no specific moment to start. I would say start straight away. The sooner you learn this stuff, the more benefit you'll have. You look so young that I would say that is already a big benefit. I started much later, and I'm regretting that I didn't come across this any earlier. I mean, so that's something that that you can do. Anyway, there's also a bit of a yes there because, well, the easy way to start would be with 7 stages. To some extent, that's the easy way because it's only 2 days, whereas the Evoke training is 5 days, or when you do it online, 4 days. So you have to invest less time, and you still get a good idea of what it looks like. But then, like I said, the 7 stages is a bit more on the background and understanding how this works, whereas the Evoke training is much more on the skill set, on applying it on the client conversation. And that's something to take into account. If you go to the Evoke training hoping that you would come out as a complete life planner, being able to do a thorough life planning conversation with the client, I can already say that that's not likely to happen. That's the Evoke training. So the 7 stage training is leading up to that to a certain extent. Does that mean that you always have to do it in that order? So first the 7 stage and then the Evoke training? No, many people do it the other way around and feel that that has a lot of merit too. Because funnily enough, when you learn the skill sets and then you see the background and the machinery behind it, it also helps you to understand the 7 stages even better. So there's even a number of participants who feel that there's so much benefit in the 7 stage training that they do it before and after the Evoke training. So they do it twice. So that's kind of a fact. When when you're in a transition yourself, the benefit of being in programs like this, it can be extraordinary. Because isn't it true that we, like any of our clients, are all looking for, okay, how am I going to live my life with value, with purpose, with dignity, with, we're all looking for that. And we love to help our clients, but who's helping us? And the wonderful thing about these trainings that we offer is not just being in a training that conveys some technical stuff, knowledge, not just some skill sets. The extraordinary thing of all the kinder training is that it's always experiential. So it allows you to experience yourself what it is when you will be working with your clients. One more thing I would like to say on this, because it is a topic that has different angles. If you start to do this life planning work, you may think like, okay, you know what? I'm rubbish at this. I can't do it. I mean, I have no clue how to do that well. And so when am I actually applying this? Do I have to do the stages, the evoke training, the mentorship, maybe become ROP before I'm actually qualified to do this? But the answer is no. You can do it straight away. And that sounds maybe strange, but when financial advisors or advisors in common, in general, do a financial planning conversation, thinking that it's just about the cognitive part and that they can simply ask their clients like, okay, so what is your goal? And that then the client is going to answer something that is valuable and that will be enough to build a financial plan on. They're doing a half job. So when you, just to start with, begin with the mindset that you are going to listen to your clients with intention and with empathy, you're already making a huge difference. So as soon as you start to do that, you will already see that your clients will benefit from that. So even using just that little part and starting to apply that will enhance the quality of the conversation that you have. The more you learn about this, the more you start to experience and create skill set around it, the more you'll build. But it's not like that you can ruin this or do it the wrong way. I mean, yeah, the worst scenario is that you intend to listen well, but you don't. Well, then you're back to square one. But you haven't done anything that would diminish your original result. So this is one that you could start to apply straight away, and we'll find that there's a lot of benefit in it.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Susanna, if I can just chip in my 2 pennies worth on this. I did the 7 stages with George in 2009 and set up my own business on the back of it. And Finley is now my employee who's about to do the 7 stages course in April. So a couple of things. One, it was life-changing for me, definitely, and gave me the confidence to set up my own business. The second thing, I found the 7 stages 2-day very interesting, but I wasn't convinced I wanted to sign up for the 5-day until I went to a dinner afterwards with one of the other people who'd already done the 5-day and said, no, for sure, it's the best training I've ever done. And I've done lots of financial planning training. So on the back of that conversation, that gave me the confidence to sign up for the 5-day, and the 5-day really is life-changing. So just to give you a bit of encouragement, I suppose. And on your original question, for me, for my employees, I'm getting them to do the 2-day as as fast as possible. But then waiting until they've qualified and they've got their exams to be in front of clients before doing the 5-day, so that they're putting the skills they learn on the 5-day into practice. So that's my thoughts on it. But I hope you find that helpful.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. How long do you think it usually takes for them to be qualified? I don't know if you have the same kind of financial planning qualifications in Scotland or.
Yeah. Well, yeah, same in the UK, but not the same as you in California. But it's about a year to get through. We're hoping Finley can get through it in about a year. The exams he
Right.
needs to do before he can start seeing clients. Yeah.
Okay, all right. I feel like I need to do some soul searching myself. I'm trying to look for my next position as an associate wealth advisor or financial planner. And I'm trying to figure out what type of client or who I would like to service. I came into this thinking I knew who I wanted to service, but I'm having second thoughts. And so I feel like I need to do some self reflection as well as I go on this journey.
Well, the evoke training would certainly help, and if it turns out not to be the profession that you would like to do or like to, it's still a skill set that is useful throughout your life. So it's never wasted. I can almost guarantee you, it's never wasted.
Mm.
The thing is that you can see that people going through these trainings on average, I would say, rated incredibly high, because it's quite extraordinary to notice yourself what it means. I mean, when we have knowledge for our clients and transfer knowledge, we know, well, first the client didn't have any knowledge. Now we transfer our knowledge, and now the client has the knowledge. Okay, great. That's quite simple. But if it's about, okay, I want to live a life with quality and with purpose, and I'm stuck. And finally, there's someone who listens, who allows me to get to the essence, who doesn't take away my power, but really empowers me. That's extraordinary. That's a unique experience that people are going to value you for, and that's exactly what the whole process does for financial advisors. It gives them their own purpose, and it helps them to deliver purpose to clients.
I had a slightly more simple question. As Michael said, obviously I'm signed up to do the course in a couple of weeks' time. So I was just wondering if I could get a bit more information just about the actual structure of the course over the 2 days, sort of how the sessions are run. Yeah, just a bit more about what sort of sessions we do and how that's all structured.
Yeah, sure. We start off by explaining the origin, kind of what I did in very short today, but we go into it in more depth, so it's you can understand better where it comes from, because then it makes sense how to apply it. So that's in the morning. We really start there, and then in a way we go through all 7 stages during those 2 days. So each segment of the training we will have a specific topic, like, okay, so it's the first stage, the second stage, and so forth. Which means that in each stage we ask you to well, we explain, of course, first, and then we ask you to come up with examples, things that you got stuck with clients or with yourself, or what you recognize, and then we give you some situations where you will be practicing together with another participant, where you will be both in terms, you will be either the planner or the client. So, what in contrast to what it is in regular training, where there's often role play, where you would kind of assume the role of a client. When you are client, you are yourself. It's about you, and vice versa. So that's how we do a number of those exercises throughout the day, and as we go through the first three stages the first day, second day we pick up where we left off and use the other four, of course, as the theme for each element that we look at. So it all gets linked in with both your practice, specific attention to that, and with you. And of course then with your clients. So it's in that way, it's at the one hand theoretical, starting to understand this, but on the other hand also incredibly practical, because it's hands-on. Also gives the second day a bit of a peek into the evoked method itself. So it gives you some idea of how you would be using that as well.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So I guess it's sort of split a little bit between obviously how, like, my understanding and how that applies to me, and then obviously how I can then apply that to clients further down the line. Yeah.
That's the whole idea of all the Kinder training. It's always experiential.
Okay.
Because when, like I said, when I just talked about that, how do clients come into our meeting? Do we still realize that when a client comes in for the first time, that client is maybe anxious, confused? Do we still realize that, or are we so used to having client conversations that we cannot even start to feel the client's anxiety? And if the client is anxious, so how do we deal with that? How do we deal with anxiety that's there? And how are we present with that instead of trying to rush over it? So the very good way of not just noticing how you should act as a planner, but feeling it on the other hand yourself, makes it incredibly clear.
Yeah, I'll just
Thank you.
add that in terms of like the structure of the training, we essentially on Zoom, we're moving you from the large group room to breakout rooms where you're working with a partner, so that you're kind of being seamlessly moved all around. And then we also, take breaks every hour and a half to 2 hours. We do a longer, like 45-minute or so lunch break. So you're intended to keep you awake and keep you not going into like the Zoom like fade, but it's a really engaging training. So we want you to show up present and stay present through the duration. Any other questions or comments for Louis?
Well, just quickly, Susanna, for you, have you read the book yet? The 7 stages? No.
I think I skimmed both 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So I haven't gone back to it, and I haven't actually done the work, the exercises. I thought it through my head, but I feel like I need to actually sit down and put pen to paper and write everything down, and just go through the process myself.
I was just going to say, don't let the book put you off, because it is quite heavy. And I remember feeling, I read it twice and still got to the end of it the second time and still felt I didn't understand all of it. But doing the course is very different, and you, like they say, it's experiential. You experience it and then you understand it better.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah. If you haven't read it yet, I've got a copy for you. So you've got 2 weeks to get into it.
Yeah, I'll need to
There
read
you go.
fast.
And one of the benefits of the 7 stages course is that you really do go into each of the inspirational exercises that we've developed. So the 3 questions, the Heart's Core Grid, ideal day, week, year, goals for your life. Those come up in the training. So you're also doing them with a partner. So of course you can do those exercises on your own, through reading the books or going to the Life Planning for You site, but there's a different experience when you do those exercises with somebody who's holding space and really wants the things that you want in your life for them to really come out and come to fruition.
Mhm.
All right, well, we have just 2 minutes left. Any other questions before we go to a closing?
I've not got any more questions about the 7 stages, but I wondered if I could ask another question just
Of course,
about the
yeah, go
Kinder
ahead.
method. So obviously I've just started with Michael recently, really enjoying it, and we obviously Michael has been part of this whole Kinder methodology for a long time now, and I've had the chance to sit in on some of the initial meetings, which I really enjoy. I think the Evoke method brings out some really interesting conversations with the clients. So I've really liked that. But one thing we've been speaking about recently is how to just make sure that we're still providing that life planning service to clients over the long term. I guess sort of how we can make sure at annual reviews, for example, that we are still making sure that life planning is the focus and not sort of getting away from that and just only focusing on the numbers. So something we've discussed a bit recently, just how we can make sure that clients that we've maybe had for 5 or 10 years, how can we make sure that we're still opening up those conversations about the life planning and making sure that we're driving those conversations rather than only talking about the financials?
Yeah, great question. Great question. What is important to realize is that this life planning method is in a way different from financial planning, because the aim of financial planning is to deliver a financial plan. It sounds obvious, but I mean, I just want to put emphasis there. The aim of financial planning is to deliver a financial plan. The aim of life planning, which is the prologue of financial planning, is to facilitate the client's energy to make things work. And once that facilitation leads to a clear beacon on the horizon where they want to go, then to make the financial plan that facilitates that. So that is immediately the answer also to how do you do that with annual meetups, etc. We would still have to have those conversations about, okay, so where's your energy going today? And the training gives you a good way of doing this. And in a way, it doesn't teach you how to deliver a life plan. No, it teaches you how to be, what to do, who to be when engaging. So how am I a much more complete human being in my conversation with the client? Just getting away from just being cerebral, but then being much more in touch with the whole of the client. So not just offering advice on their finance, but being able to facilitate the energy that they need for their life, and then make their finances match. It's quite a different approach. So it's much more in the approach than in the product.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. I guess just what I was sort of wondering is there any sort of recommendations of how we can sort of, as you say, facilitate that energy at annual reviews, for example?
Absolutely. I don't think it would be useful to go into that right now, because we would
Sure.
need some serious time to really cover that, as it is one of the topics that we deal with in the education to RLP. But I'm also more than happy to have a bit of an offline conversation on that, and
Sure.
to see what I can do for you. Yeah. Certainly.
Thank you.
That's great. Well, this is the close of the meeting. Thank you very much, Louis, for your time and everything that you shared. Thank you, Susanna, Michael, and Finlay for being here. We're very excited. You, Finlay, were already signed up for a course. I'm Laura. I didn't introduce myself at the beginning, but I've been involved in Kinder Institute for the last 7 years, and I'm here to support your journey. So wherever you are, whether you are an RLP like Michael or you're just starting out, or you're just curious, so please reach out to me. I'll send a follow-up email recapping what we covered, and I look forward to being in touch. So thank you again for being here, and have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
bye-bye.
All right.